If anybody's dethroning Ricky Saints for the NXT Championship, it has to be Wes Lee. Because ever since coming into NXT, Wes Lee has been one of the most accomplished wrestlers on the roster. Two-time tag team champion, one of those reigns 200 days. The other reign did get cut short because of injury. Then he was also the North American champion for over 260-something days, but then it also got cut short due to injury. And his North American Championship run is still regarded as the best North American Championship run, if not at least 1-1A, with Obafemi. And where during his tag team championship reign, he was able to show that his wrestling ability was top-notch. It was really during his North American Championship reign where he flourished as a wrestler, showing that his mic skills, his character work, it was all pretty dang good as well, and that he could be a guy that going forward in the future could be an absolute star on the main roster. Now, before going to the main roster, though, Wes Lee would have to have this match against Obafemi. We would have to see these guys go against each other. The greatest North American champion versus the guy who's looking like he's also going to be the greatest North American champion. This match had to have been had. And everything we believed this match was going to be, it was just that. Obafemi and Wes Lee absolutely tore the house down at Heatwave, which would see Obafemi retaining the North American title. But now with that big match done, you're thinking, okay, he has to go to the main roster now. He's likely going to be in a tag team to start off with. Maybe they bring back MSK on the main roster, or maybe he goes after the mid-card title, one of the two. But no. Neither of these would happen. Well, technically neither of these would happen. See, MSK would be brought back, but instead of reforming MSK and going after the tag titles, Wes Lee, for the very first time in his career, would turn heel and go against Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, which led to a big-time rivalry between Wes Lee and Zachary Wentz that would see Wes Lee go over. And so now you're thinking, okay, he's going to stay in NXT. Well, maybe he's going after the NXT Championship. Because see, up until this point in Wes Lee's career, the only NXT Championship match that he's ever had is against Carmelo Hayes. This is the only one. Now, being a champion for 200 days on two separate occasions can do this, so it does make sense. But now that Wes Lee was a heel, it felt like as if, okay, there's only a matter of time until he goes after Trick Williams or eventually Obafemi. Because he would be the two next big face champions that would be in WWE, and he would go after both of them. And then during the Trick Williams thing, Jey Uso pops up, and Jey Uso and Trick Williams are having a Yeet Fest, and that's all that came from that with Wes Lee and Trick Williams. No matches at all. And then with Obafemi, he had a stare down backstage, and that was it. And nothing ever came from it. Mind you, Wes Lee was my number one pick to dethrone Obafemi. It was going to be either him or Javon Evans, and I had Javon Evans second only because he gave Wes Lee two absolute behemoths of a man in Tyreek and Tyson. Which had me thinking, okay, if it's not Javon Evans that's going to dethrone Obafemi, then it's going to be my number one option, which was Wes Lee. You gave this guy Tyson and Tyreek, and I'm thinking that has to be it. These guys are going to beat up on Obafemi, weaken him enough so that when Wes Lee does beat him, it doesn't look too bad on Obafemi's part because he got beat up not by a guy half his size, but by two guys that are twice his size. Twice his size combined, not twice his size individually. But that wouldn't happen. No, instead, Wes Lee would just have a bunch of randomness going on for the next couple of months and not really doing anything, and neither would Tyson and Tyreek either. Like, Tyson and Tyreek, despite being a tag team, didn't get any kind of tag team championship matches. And for the next couple of months, these guys would just all float around NXT before eventually going down to Evolve. So now I think it's safe to say up until this point at least, this whole thing has failed, whether it be this faction you kind of created or just Wes Lee becoming a heel. Now around this time is usually when WWE will do their typical thing of something doesn't work, have a wrestler take a few weeks off, maybe take a few months off, come back, new gimmick and stuff like that. And well, Wes Lee hasn't been on NXT for about 2 months now, except this is the one time that I would actually disagree with that. Instead, I would have Wes Lee come back with Tyson and Tyreek, but just make them a lot more vicious this time. Because as much as I do like Dark State, they kind of feel like as if it's not all the way there yet. Like there's something missing from the group. I don't know exactly what it really is. I don't know if it's just inexperience is the issue or what, but it feels like as if they can't be a top heel faction just yet. And while, yes, Tyson and Tyreek are also inexperienced themselves, I think having a guy like Wes Lee at the forefront, it's gonna be fine because he's well accomplished in NXT, and I think a lot of us would want to see him be in the top card scene of NXT. And so that's why after having Ricky Saints have a few successful defenses and kind of showing that he can be the guy as an NXT champion, I would have Wes Lee return with Tyson and Tyreek going after Ricky Saints, and then eventually having Wes Lee dethrone Ricky for the NXT championship. This would also allow NXT and WWE to not waste a Javon Evans story that was being built up of him taking down a lot of these bigger guys so eventually he could take down a big guy like Obafemi. Because sure, while Wes Lee may not be a big guy himself, Javon Evans is going to have to be able to take down big guys and look like as if he can take down big guys because of Tyson and Tyreek at Wes Lee's side, thereby allowing NXT to still have their David vs. Goliath storyline with Javon Evans, just a different kind of Goliath this time, which would also allow for Wes Lee to become an even bigger heel because, just like I said before in the past with faces needing some kind of connection to the crowd, some kind of big reasoning for why we should root for you, the same thing does both true for heels as well. Just think of every iconic heel in WWE history, whether it be Edge, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns. They didn't become top heels until they had that super duper mega babyface to go against. For Edge and Randy, it was John Cena. For Roman, it was Cody Rhodes. Wes Lee can become an even bigger heel and become a more credible heel by going up against a mega babyface like Javon Evans, which would also help Javon out as well, and going up against a big time heel like Wes Lee and Tyson and Tyreek. But the story's going to be even better because Wes Lee won't just be a typical heel where, ooh, I'm a big bad guy and all that. No, he's a bad guy with a bit of a reasoning for why he is a bad guy. He was regarded as one of the greatest North American champions, and then what happened? Gets hurt, Obafemi comes around, and everybody forgets about him. The same thing goes for MSK. They were a beloved tag team, and then what happens? One of them gets hurt, things happen, and now they're forgotten about. Also, again, the guy's only gotten one NXT championship match as well. So despite being a very well-accomplished wrestler, time and time again, he gets forgotten or gets overlooked. So a matchup of Wes Lee versus Javon Evans, big-time heel versus big-time babyface, it's going to be one that's pulling out a lot of heartstrings because we're going to want to see Wes Lee get over. We're not going to want to see Wes Lee lose after what we've seen before with him in the past, but the same thing is going to be said about Javon Evans as well. We're going to want to see him get over the big-time heel. But this will also allow Wes Lee to smoothly transition into a babyface where I believe he is best at, because if his entire reign is revolved around the fact that he's been forgotten, he's been overlooked, he's been one of the best, he's carried, division on his back to the point where he got hurt and everybody just forgot all about him, people are going to be like, dang, he's right. We are the reason why he is this way. He's not this way because he wants to be this way. He didn't turn on MSK because he wanted to. He turned on MSK because he felt like he had to, because he didn't want to be overlooked anymore. He didn't want to be forgotten anymore, which will allow Wes Lee to become a babyface once again, giving him a solid foundation for it and allowing him to go to the main roster where he can finally show his talents off to a much larger crowd. Because I do believe Wes Lee has every single thing necessary, whether it is being an all-time great tag team champion on the main roster, an all-time great mid-card champion, heck, even being a future world champion. I believe Wes Lee has the ability to do any one of these three. But hey, y'all go ahead and let me know down below, though. How would y'all feel about Wes Lee being the one of the Dethrone Ricky Saints, finally getting his big-time NXT championship run? Do you think it should be him? Do you think it should be somebody else? Go ahead and let me know down below. And if you haven't already, make sure you do like and follow for more.